Hey guys, you guys are going to love this episode with Theresa Rose. I mean, she is freaking phenomenal. All right. A keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, author, like all this great stuff. Let me tell you something. She dropped some wisdom. Okay. She dropped some wisdom in this episode. And I cannot wait for you to listen to it, watch it, wherever you're consuming Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And she talks about crystallizing your message and also how putting your pictures and messaging on a napkin can transform your life and your business. Okay. Don't play games. You guys better go ahead and check out this episode because it is worth watching. She drops so much knowledge. Make sure you check it out. All right. Here we go.
The first thing is we need to look at what are we dealing with in the economic climate and in the cultural climate. It doesn't take very long for us to realize that we are in a tsunami of content, and that
Yeah.
there's just we're drowning in words. And
Yes.
so
Ooh,
what
girl.
my right? I mean, this
Yes.
is a real thing. It's a real thing. So
Wow.
what I like to do is tap into the power of visuals in order to convey information. So when I say get cocktail napkin clarity, what I mean by that is whatever is the most important thing for you to be sharing with the world, down to
Mm.
something that you could draw on a cocktail napkin and a 2-year-old would understand it. So no acronyms and no fancy language and no, uh, uh, gobbledygook, word salad, thought spaghetti, but what is the distilled essence of what it is that you
I
bring
love
to the
that.
table?
What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I want to take a pause and a moment to thank you all so much for getting me up on the charts the way you have. We have become the top 1.5% podcast to listen to in the country and over 100,000 downloads. And that's because of you. You guys are freaking awesome. Always showing up, always emailing and DMing and all that great stuff. And I really, truly appreciate you. And like I always say, I go around this planet of ours finding the best humans I can find to come on this show to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. So today I have a really cool person. I can't wait for you to meet her because I love her. So I know you're going to love her. Okay. I am so thrilled to welcome Theresa Rose. She's a strategic mastermind with over 20 years of consulting, marketing, and management. Theresa is also a multiple award-winning author with titles like Mindful Performance and Your Daily Dose of Mojo. Okay. And her Crystallize Your Brilliance program helps clients showcase their unique value with various platforms. So I am really excited to have her here. She's a seasoned keynote speaker. She blends her insightful content with humor, interactivity. You got to check it out. So prepare for this episode, y'all. Okay. It's going to be filled with a lot of transformative insights and engaging wisdom. And I am so happy to have you here. Thank you for being on Straight Talk, Theresa.
Well, thank you, Nina, for having me. And I need to hire you to just be my wing woman, my pitch woman, everywhere I go.
Yes, well, I am available. Everybody keeps telling me that I'm gonna be. That's maybe my niche. Maybe I just should be, introducing people. But it's really, really good to have you here. I mean, I really loved your energy and everything you're about when we first met last week or the week before, and so I'm really excited that you're here. My community is filled with a lot of really intelligent, wonderful people. There are a lot of CEOs and solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, coaches. That's usually the people who listen to the show.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, off the gate, Theresa, I ask everyone this because I want to know where you go with it. So, who are you? Who are you, Theresa?
That is the biggest question in the smallest amount of words that we can possibly share with each other.
For
Who are
real.
you? I am a lot, and
I love that.
I have a lot of facets to myself. Recently, Nina, I was starting to think about myself as a crystal because that's what I do. I crystallize people's brilliance onto cocktail napkins. I see the world in a way that brings it to a greater level of clarity,
Mm.
and boiling it down to its essence. So I actually thought about myself the other day as this walking crystal that has different facets, right? So who am I? Well, one version version of me is that I am a professional speaker, certified speaking professional who's done this for 15 years. I chomp up the stage for a living. I love it. I do stand-up comedy and improv, and I'm a natural
Love
born
that.
inspirer, and I won most enthusiastic in second grade. I love being on stage and lighting people up. That's one facet of who am I. But then there's this other facet of me who I discovered, oh, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that I have this uncanny ability to help crystallize the brilliance of other people. I created
Mm,
a model for one of my books, as you mentioned, Mindful Performance, How to Powerfully Impact Profitability, Productivity, and Purpose. And I created a visual model for my own thought leadership at the time because I was tired of competing against free, and I was tired of competing against people that all sounded like me, and I wanted to sound different than everybody else. And so
mm,
I did this myself to figure out who I was and how I show up in the world that's different. And I realized that I have an affinity and a talent for being able to do that for other people. So, I am a DIY bootstrapping thought leadership, uh, uh, passionate, powerful woman who is elevating her business right now. I'm elevating it to a higher level than I ever have before. So who am I now? Who am I now is a fledgling CEO of
I love it.
a $1 million thought leadership business.
That's really, really great, right? And it's that that part where you love what you do, right?
Hmm.
Like, you lit up when you said, I'm a stand-up
Oh
comedian and
yeah.
I love to improv, like, you lit up, like, that's your thing, right? At least
Hmm.
that's what came
Totally.
through the screen for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I love that. Was that something you discovered, like, like, the latter part of your life, or did you always know this as a child, or was there something that happened, like, a moment that said to you, "You know what? I don't wanna be this person now, I wanna really p go after what I want."
No, there was never a point where I said, "This isn't working, I need to do something different." I really believe in this life as a journey, and
Mhm.
it is one that is so uh, mm, colorful and challenging and illuminating about who we are, what we do, what makes us tick. One of my favorite
Mm,
quotes from Annie Dillard is, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives." And
mm,
so it's, how do we spend our days? Well, I spend my day, as an example, I coached one of my crystallized clients this morning to help her utilize her cocktail napkin clarity and get on more stages. So worked through, the strategic elements of that. So I
love that.
spend time helping people see themselves that they can't see
Mhm, mhm.
opportunities that they can't see, and leverage those opportunities. And then another part of me is sharing this time with you and being connected to you and sharing the power of cocktail napkin clarity on a podcast. And then an hour from now, I'm going to have a very detailed operational meeting with my second in command to make sure that I'm running my business in the
Yeah,
way that it needs to. And then I'm going to be
yeah.
packing up for a trip to go speak at NSA Austin at the end of this week.
Awesome.
So there's
Yay, I
just lots
know,
of
that's so
different things.
exciting.
Yeah,
That's
it's really great. I
exciting.
love what
That's
I do.
so
I love it.
good. Yeah, and you know what I love? I love that you said taking care of my business,
Yeah.
right? Because I think that that's one of the things that, I coach a lot of women, right? And the women that I coach, I help them kind of get clarity also on who they are by removing a lot of that inner stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then we talk about building their roadmaps to their coaching and consulting business. And we do like a 90-day roadmap, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But one of the things that strikes them sometimes is that this is a business, right?
Mhm.
Like, this is a
Mhm.
business. Unless you just want to do this to wing it and have fun, but
Right.
this is a business and you should
Yep.
take it as a business, right? But I'm sure that, when you speak to your clients, that's the road you're going through. Like, we're going to crystallize this, but this is your business. Like, this is
Yes.
your money maker, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I want to talk to you because you've mentioned it like twice already. And I really want to talk to you and have the audience hear what you mean about napkin clarity. Like,
Cocktail
I
napkin
love that.
clarity.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah, so the first thing is we need to look at what are we dealing with in the economic climate and in the cultural climate. It doesn't take very long for us to realize that we are in a tsunami of content, and that
Yeah.
there's just, so we're drowning in words. And
Yes.
so
Ooh,
what my
girl.
Right? I mean, this
Yes.
is a real thing. It's a real thing. So what
Wow.
I like to do is tap into the power of visuals in order to convey information. So when I say get cocktail napkin clarity, what I mean by that is whatever is the most important thing for you to be sharing with the world, down to
Mm,
something that you could draw on a cocktail napkin and a 2-year-old would understand it. So no acronyms and no fancy language and no, uh, uh, gobbledygook word salad thought spaghetti, but what is the distilled essence of what it is that you
I
bring
love
to the
that.
table that you can draw. And my example that I actually just posted something on my TikTok, because in my TEDx talk, my second TEDx talk that I just did in TEDx Temecula, I highlight all of the different, not all, many different utilizations of this idea of using a visual model. And one of them that I'm sure your audience will know, Nina, is Simon Sinek. So Simon
Mhm,
Sinek got
mhm,
up on a very modest TEDx stage with the flip chart from Office Depot that had handwritten 3 concentric circles with 3 little words: why, how, and what. And those 3 little words of why, how, and what built an empire and changed the way
mhm.
we look at leadership. Okay.
Wow.
Think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
That's what that did. And then you have, there's other different examples of this in business. I mean, Southwest Airlines started on a cocktail napkin. I have one of my,
Wow.
very dear clients is Cheryl Lynn from Joyly, who is creating a global movement tackling the mental health crisis with 4 little words that we've crystallized together: sit, breathe, think, and feel. And so, what I
Mm,
like to encourage people to do as they're thinking about, how do I get myself out there in a bigger way? How I let people know who I am, and how do I get traction on being a success at what I do? I invite them to look at, how can you show and tell your brilliance and not just sell it? So it's
so
about
good.
less words, more insight. And I found, Nina, that when doing this cocktail napkin clarity work, that it is nearly impossible for people to be able to do it themselves because of how we're designed.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
designed to be collaborative people.
Mhm,
In human beings, the way that we've survived as a species is that we've collaborated. We've
mhm.
connected with each other. We are not lone wolves wandering the prairie by ourselves. So it's the same thing now. We need to look at, how do I create my cocktail napkin clarity? Well, one of the
Love
ways to
it.
do
I
that is
love
to
it.
have someone else see you, because I just got off a call with one of my clients a couple of hours ago. This woman is a powerhouse. She is a corporate fixer. She goes into big, huge organizations and literally turns them around from a sales standpoint.
Wow.
And yeah, and she's, incredibly educated and just wildly brilliant. And she cannot see herself. She
Yep.
cannot see her opportunities so clearly, because we're designed, in my humble opinion, we're designed by the divine to work only when we work in partnership
Yeah.
fully.
No, I couldn't agree with that more. And it has a lot to do with, somebody seeing your blind spots, but also the fact of the energy in the room, right?
Big time.
And I think anybody who's listening who has a team or have worked on a team or in corporate or whatever, you know when you walk into that team meeting, is that's a good team meeting or bad. And doesn't people don't even have to say anything. It's
Right.
the energy, right?
Yeah.
So I believe in that too. And I also believe that God did create us to be collaborative and in community, 100%. In fact, if you are someone who is a person of faith or reads the Bible or anything like that, you'll see that it's always about community and
Yep.
supporting each other and coming in as a village. And that's the truth, Teresa. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Love that you said that. And also the fact that we are always our biggest critics
Yeah.
and we don't realize the brilliance that we have and about elevating our wisdom,
Yeah.
right? So I love that you do that. And another thing about the napkin thing as you're talking is I'm thinking how wonderful to unlock in our brain the creativity that a lot of us probably have lost since we were children.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of us, when we get into corporate or anything like that, we are focused on the numbers and how the team is running and
Yep.
all of the logistics.
Yep.
But when do we sit down and draw something out, unless you're an artist, right? When
Right.
do you draw something? I haven't drawn on a piece of paper in a while, right? So to
Yeah.
think that concept is so brilliant. I love that you came up with this concept, and I love that people who are going to be, seeing you in your life, life stage,
Yep.
get to sit there, and I don't know if you're going to do this with them, but like draw something out
Oh,
that
yeah.
unlocks, yeah, that unlocks that, that creativity. I
It
love that,
unlocks
Teresa.
it unlocks the creativity. It's one of the first things that I do when I have in a speaking presentation is imagine that this is the world's biggest mixer, and we're sitting there, and you're sitting next to, on the left and the right of you, the two people that could materially make your life different. If you When you have the right conversation, they could be Oprah's manager. They could be
Right.
who knows, right? You have no idea who's sitting next to you. So let's imagine that you have 1 minute to be able to make a real connection with them in a way that doesn't just open your heart and say, okay, I'm going to connect with you as a human, but can I open my heart to you, connect to you, and give you enough information in a short period of time that will have you understand who I am so I can leverage that moving forward. And a
I
cocktail
love it.
napkin will do it. And here's the thing, it's not just about opening doors. It's about creating entire foundations and frameworks for your whole business. When you know yourself so well that you can draw yourself on a cocktail napkin, several things happen. Number one, you are so integrated with your value proposition. You know how you show up in the world. You know what gifts you have and what impact you make. So no matter when somebody comes into your orbit, it could be an airport bar, it could be a Uber ride, it could be in an elevator, it could
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
when the fire alarm is going off in the hotel and you're all out in your robes. You could still have a conversation with someone about what you do when you know yourself to that level of clarity, and you can
So good.
show it, not just some I change lives. Oh, big whoop. So does everybody else.
Right.
Okay. I'm talking about how do
Right.
you draw it that's different than everybody else.
Right. That's
Okay.
so
So
good.
your sales, you automatically move into a level of far greater competence, but then you also have confidence because you are not saying, "Oh, will you pick me? I'm going to tell you a little bit about me." What you're doing instead is going, "I'm going to tell you about my cocktail napkin, and it's the hill I'm willing to die on."
Right.
Okay. And
That's
I am
so
so
good.
confident and I believe in this so fully with all my mind, body, and spirit that this is what I've dedicated my life to. Now, if you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, different strokes for different folks. But now
Right.
I'm approaching you not from a place of submissive buyer or submissive seller and dominant buyer. I am now approaching you as a peer and potential partner.
Right. I freaking love that. I freaking love that.
It's
So,
so good.
Teresa,
I love it so much.
it's so good. Yeah. And I can feel the passion for it. I know that your clients are getting a lot of value and help from this because I can feel your love and passion. I'm curious. Um, did you, you know, draw yours in your napkin and then reiterate? Like, do you have to is there a pack of napkins is what I'm trying to
Well,
say?
you can go through lots of different napkins, right? So one of
Right.
the first napkins that I did was, I would say in 2009, I was on an AirTran flight. I was going from Minneapolis to Sarasota, Florida to deliver my first big presentation. And I didn't know really what I was doing. Right. I just started this business. I had no idea that what I was
Right.
doing, but
So
I
bold. I
knew
love that.
if I know a lot of stuff because I have such a varied
Mhm.
background, right? I have a
Right.
background in senior management and marketing for Fortune 100 company, and I ran a healing center, and I've been a project management, and I've done a lot of things with a lot of people. And I looked at that drink that I had on my AirTran drink, a first class. I upgraded to the business class for a whole $40. And I turned over that AirTran napkin and I doodled what my presentation was going to be because it
Wow.
made me think through what do I actually, regardless, don't open up PowerPoint. Don't look at all that. Just literally, do you know yourself so well that you can draw it? And I wrote that my first cocktail napkin. And that built my speaking business, that cocktail napkin. And then
Wow.
I did it when I was doing, my last book, not my latest book, not my last book, my latest book. I took a week instead of doing it on a cocktail napkin. I took a week and I used post-it notes, and I just figured out everything that I knew, and then I started to put them in categories, and I started to chip away at things that didn't matter, and I brought it down and brought it down and brought it down
Mm,
to a point where now I have this beautiful visual model of my mindful performance. But
I
then I
love that.
also have a cocktail napkin for crystallization, which is very simple. If you can imagine that I would just draw a stick drawing on a cocktail napkin, and I draw a big heart right in the middle, and I say that's the part we need to clarify. We need to understand what's in our
Yeah.
hearts, what makes us different than everybody else. And then I would draw little arrows out of that heart that would say amplify. And that would be amplify how they read you, how they listen to you, how they watch you, how they interact with you. And then a little bit further out from those little 4 arrows would be dollar signs all out there that says monetize. Because when we clarify, amplify, monetize in that order, and most people attempt to
Yeah.
monetize and fail. And so then
Yeah.
they go against the grain of organic growth and try to amplify, which is they pay a bunch of money to somebody to try to help them quote spread the word. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
that doesn't work either. And that totally wears them out and makes them just shells of people because they're so disillusioned. They know they're good and they cannot seem to get traction when in
Yeah.
reality, they didn't start with the number one step. And that number one step is from our hearts, clarify. Do you know
Right.
what makes you different than everybody else? And is it true and real for you?
Mhm,
And when you
mhm,
have that
mhm.
very, very simple map as a visual, then everything stems from that.
That's awesome. That is really, really good and very clear, right? Because that's one of the things, I've noticed too, like one of the first things that I do in my program is we break down all of your wisdom, your skill sets, your knowledge, your God-given talents, like all those things,
Yep.
so that they can see themselves on this spreadsheet, on this paper, and go, "Whoa, I
Yep.
know a lot." You
Yep.
know? So now we're
Yep.
not going to attack all of these things. We're going to
Yep.
we're going to narrow this down to who you are. And I think that's so smart, Teresa, because you know, I love when we started, you said we are drowning or inundated with words.
Yep.
And that is so freaking true. I
Totally.
cannot, my brain cannot,
Right.
right? And I
Over it.
mean, I can imagine what this younger generation is going through that are constantly on their phone, constantly in these apps, constantly
Yeah.
absorbing.
Yeah.
No wonder sometimes I speak and they don't even know who they are, right? So they're trying to they go towards group think. Not all of them, but a majority of like the kids that I speak to, or the younger generation, they go towards group think because they don't know how to think for themselves anymore, Teresa. And
Mm,
even as a 51-year-old, I mean, I have been, I'm very fortunate that I was in a generation where we didn't have all of this stuff, right? So you kind of
right.
played outside and you figured it out.
Right.
Now, I mean, even I sometimes find myself constantly like looking at like
Yep.
constantly looking at my phone. What am I doing? Right,
Yep.
Teresa? So if somebody's listening, not if there's over 100,000 downloads. So people are listening, Teresa. So there are people who are listening. If you can tell them, like, okay, start here.
Yeah.
Just just start here. Like the one question or the one thing that triggers. What would that be? What do you think that would be?
There's one thing I'm going to give as an invitation, and then there's one thing I'm going to give as a kind of a challenge for them to take it
Mm,
deeper. Okay, so the first invitation is imagine when you look at your next 2 weeks. Okay, outside from now until the end of the month, let's say the end of next month, and you say, what is the biggest thing that is happening to me that's already in the calendar that if I did it well, it could materially
oh,
move me
so good.
forward. Okay. So whether it's a one-on-one conversation with a high value prospect, whether it is a getting on stage in front of your Rotary group for 15 people. Okay. I don't care what it is.
Mhm.
Even a phone call that you're going to make, whatever it is that you think is going to materially move you, notice what that is. And then deconstruct it and go, okay, what do I really want to say to these? What do I want them to say yes to? What do I want to get them to say yes to? And then what my invitation to your audience is draw a picture of what you want them to know about after
I
this is
love that
over.
so much.
Okay.
Mhm.
Draw a picture, and it doesn't have to be pretty. Mine looks like chicken scratch. It doesn't matter. In fact, right behind me, for those that are watching, this is what I used on my TEDx Temecula, my dry erase board. It doesn't have to look fantastic. Okay. It just needs to be
Right.
clear. So that's the invitation, is do it early on. As soon as you have that meeting with that person, say at the very beginning, I just wanted to make sure that we had a great roadmap to go on this conversation, so we're not wasting any of our time, and we have it the best possible conversation or the best possible presentation or whatever it is. And you say, here's what I'd like you to see. And then you show them the picture, or you even draw it with your
I
fingers in
love
the air.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is going to put an orientation to the recipient to go, oh,
Love
I
that.
actually see what he or she is talking about now, and they're going to be far more likely to say yes to whatever it is that you're saying. And
Mhm.
then of course finish it
Mhm.
up with the picture too, because what you're doing is you're training your prospect to
Mhm.
understand what your offer is, and you're using visuals to reinforce this concept. Then what
Love
I
it.
would invite you to do as a secondary step to really start to really take it out for a ride is to create yourself a box of brilliance, which is like the spreadsheet that you use, Nina, but it's like all the content that makes them shine. And it doesn't matter how good or bad or old or what you looked like or
Mhm.
how,
Mhm.
weird your outfit was. You just throw it all into this box of brilliance, because that's the first step that I do when I crystallize someone, is I go find their brilliance in the wild. I don't ask them to tell me what makes them brilliant, and I don't tell them what makes them brilliant. I find them in what
It's
already
so good.
exists.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so create your own box of brilliance. Put stuff in there. Notice, where do I consistently keep talking about? What really lights me up?
Yeah.
Because
What lights you up? Yeah.
sadly, what
Mhm.
happens, Nina, is in this business, speaking, authoring, coaching, consulting, all those places, what we've been told is that we need to be this ever-present font of communication and content building, and more content and more content and more content and more
So
content,
exhausting. Yeah.
and it's just flooding the marketplace. Now, what I encourage them to do is take a step back and go, what's on my cocktail napkin, and what will I start to amplify now moving forward all the time, the same stuff over and over and over again, just different
Yeah.
expressions of that
Yeah.
same stuff. And the way that you can do that is start looking at, where have I been lit up before? Where have I genuinely been lit up before? Because
So good.
that's what it
So
needs to
good.
have, is love and heart and meaning and purpose in it
Mhm.
for it
Mhm.
to work.
Mhm. I really love that, Teresa. And I also love that, you mentioned I don't tell them what their brilliance is. They will discover what that brilliance is. And I think that's really important, because one of the saturations, to your point, is so many people telling you the way to do it, their
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yep.
And it's a little disheartening. And when I first started a few years ago, I got caught up in that too. And I've spent thousands of dollars
Oh, same.
for nothing.
Same.
I mean, I don't want to say for nothing, but it didn't serve me the way I thought it would serve me, right? A lot of false promises.
Big time.
Some of them were good, but some of them were really false promises. So I love that you said that, because I want those who are listening. I know you guys are listening. You guys are an amazing audience. And what I want you to understand is that you are uniquely and wonderfully made. There is brilliance in you, and these unique things about you, the way you see the world, the way you show up. And I don't want you to be afraid to show up like you. Don't let nobody on the airways and the bayous and whatever bully you to not be who you are authentically, because we should not feel like divided within ourselves when
Yes.
we're out there telling people about our napkin, and then when we're home we're a completely different person. Be you. And what
Yep.
I love, Teresa, is when somebody works with you, you are guiding them through that. But to your point, you cannot do this alone. And I
No.
love your method, Teresa, because I think, well, first of all, I've never heard of this, so that's awesome, right? I mean, the fact that
Yay!
you're, yeah, exactly. I've talked to many, 400 plus episodes, so I've spoken to many people, but not in this, right? Not about writing it out in a napkin like that. I love that breaking open the creativity, and I love the simplicity of this, right?
Yes.
As opposed to
Yes.
like some of these programs that you're just like, what?
No,
Like,
I
I
know.
can't,
It's ridiculous.
like I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're overwhelmed because you're being fed a lot of words. Let's just use
Yes.
words.
Yes.
So I really love that, Teresa. And I love what you're doing. And I love that you're crystallizing everything. And I love that you're going to the heart of the matter. I
Yeah.
mean, you're special. You're really
Thank
special.
you.
Yeah,
You know
you're
what?
really special.
I really, really love it. I call my work strategically sacred work. I I
Yeah. So
I
good.
fully embrace and embody the fact that this is a multi-dimensional, very, very powerful, sacred witnessing of their brilliance in their businesses, and
Mhm,
this is how I
mhm.
serve. So yes, I love being on stage, and I still love being the fireball on the front that gets things going. But I really, really, really love helping other people get cocktail napkin clarity, because when they
Yeah,
get
so
that,
good.
everything else is easier. And
Yeah,
they
I
make
mean,
more money, and they make
and
more money.
it just makes sense, right? I mean, when
Yeah.
you show up like you, like what you were really created to be and bring out into the world, the money will come because you're
Yep.
showing up as you. You're not trying to fake it till you make it type of thing, right? You're
Exactly.
showing, and I did the fake it till you make it type of thing. It was hard as hell.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then I was just one day I was like, you know what, I don't care. I'm just showing up like me. If you like me, you like me. You don't, you don't. I'm good. You know, like
Mhm.
I can't do
Mhm.
this anymore.
Mhm.
So I, you know, and that's what I want people to take away from this is one, how simple this really can be. Two, to work with you so that they can get clarity and crystallization on where they're going. And three, like the fact that you will draw something out into a napkin that you could take with you for life. And, you know, also the napkin will expand as you expand, because as you expand as a person, the napkin will expand
Yes.
as a you know
Yep.
a storytelling, if you will, right?
Yep.
So I love that, and I love that you're seeing their blind spots, but you're not telling them who they are. Teresa, you're magic. Your magic is what you
Aw.
are. So I don't want to really let you go, but I'm going to, because I promised. So I'm going to wrap this up. But before I do, I know my audience, and my audience, you know, will say, "Oh my God, that was a great conversation. Like, who was that?" Like, blah, blah, blah. So let us know how people can work with you. Maybe, you know, get your books, you know, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I really want people to connect with you. So how do they do
Aw.
that?
So first and foremost, I would love for them to go to my website, teresarose.com, and it's spelled like TH, like there's a rose.com. And you can go to teresarose.com/clear, and you will get my crystallization process, what I do and how that works. And just, get the conversation started, and be able to inspire you along the way. And the other thing is, if you're a TED Talk viewer, I would be deeply, deeply grateful if you'd check out my TED Talk. It's called Doodle Your Dream: How a Cocktail Napkin Will Save the World. And I did it
I
at
love
TEDx
it.
Temecula just a few months ago. It was the best thing I ever did on stage. And I'm
So good.
really, really proud of it.
You should be. That's a big deal. That's one of
Yeah.
my goals this year, is to get on a TEDx stage. So I'm really excited. That's really exciting. So, and you're
Thank
funny,
you.
by the way. You're funny. Yeah.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you
I
very
watched it.
much.
I think it was yesterday or the day before. I'm like, she's funny.
Yep.
So
Well,
I'm really excited.
Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball were my heroes growing
Like
up.
the
So
best. They're the best comedians
yeah,
ever. Oh my
they
gosh, I
are.
love them.
Yep.
So good. Thank you so much for being here, Teresa, and for dropping as much wisdom and knowledge as you did. I really, really appreciate this conversation, and, you know, looking at life through a napkin, which I just never thought of. It's so freaking cool. So good. So thank you for being
Yes.
on Straight Talk. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So be you and be clear. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Nina.
So good. Guys, I told you, good human, right? On the planet. I told you. So I will make sure to list all of Teresa's information below, plus her TEDx talk, so you guys can check it out. Make sure that you also check out her books and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to link her website so you can get the information for everything. But she's freaking awesome. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow her, all of that great stuff. Work with her. Make sure that you guys get your life on that freaking napkin and start making changes, not in you, but in the people you want to impact as well. I love you guys so much. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.